Welcome to the first ever Bluesnod MLS is Back award ceremony. So today I am going to kind of do my award of who I think is the golden boot, the player of the tournament, the young player of the tournament, the goalkeeper of the tournament, the defender of the tournament, and the coach of the tournament. And you also notice I actually put special names in terms of some of these tournaments, named after either legendary former player in MLS or current legendary player in MLS that deserve to have their name named after the award. And hopefully, when MLS does think about naming their award after a legendary player in MLS, they might think about these names as the name that is going to go with like the Golden Boot player of the tournament and young player of the tournament. Although there are two award in this award list that have already have the actual name of the award named after these legendary player or coaches. But without further ado, let us actually begin. And oh, by the way, they are also start to announce in terms of these awards, and that the first award have already been announced just an hour ago, where the goalkeeper of the tournament was indeed Andre Blake. But let's see in this video whether or not if I'm also going to choose him as my Nick Raimondo goalkeeper of the tournament. But we start off with the Chris Wondolowski Golden Boot. Now this one should be no discussion because this one is purely based on stats. And actually I need to get a better pen here because this one is not doing very well. And of course I use purple because since this tournament is taking place in Orlando City, of course, where purple, that's why I decided to go with the purple marker. But yeah, I'm going to go with Diego Rossi, who of course scores 7 goals. And again, this one shouldn't be a lot of discussion because it's purely based on stats of who actually scored the most goals during this tournament. And I think if we get to a point where if there was a tiebreaker, then I might have some decision of who I think could be the true Golden Boot winner from this tournament. But no doubt, Diego Rossi finished top goal scored with 7 goals, and he of course won the Chris Wondolowski Golden Boot of the tournament. Now the Landon Donovan player of the tournament, and I said this before, when the Portland Timbers is going to win this tournament, I think the player of the tournament has to go to Sebastian Blanco. Like I said it before, Blanco has been a guy that has been probably the most important player for the Timbers and probably one of the biggest reason why they were able to win this tournament. And although he didn't really contribute in terms of a goal or an assist during the final, which was a rarity for him during this tournament, that he didn't have a game that he was on the score sheet or on the assist chart, because it seemed like every game he's at least on the score sheet on the assist chart. There's no doubt that the Timbers, if they didn't have him throughout this tournament, they would no way be in anywhere near of getting into the MLS is Back tournament final, let alone winning the whole competition. Now, the Alphonso Davies Young Player of the tournament, I'm going to go with Ayo Akinola. And this one was kind of a little bit tough because I was thinking about choosing a couple of Union player that could also be on the Alphonso Davies Young Player of the tournament. One of those guys is Brendan Aronson, where I thought he could, of course, be the young player of the tournament. And I also could have gone with Diego Rossi, who of course, won the Golden Boot this time, this year in this MLS is Back tournament. But I decided to go with Ayo Akinola because he scored 5 goals throughout this tournament, and he looked like a player that certainly chose this tournament as his platform of rising his stock to potentially be one of the hottest prospects coming out of this tournament in MLS, and maybe even a call up to the U.S. men's national team if he can continue the form that he was in throughout this tournament. Now, the Nick Raimondo goalkeeper of the tournament, as I said before, the actual goalkeeper of the tournament was Andre Blake, and I am not going to disagree on that. I think it's going to be Andre Blake, although I think there was definitely a lot of discussion about the fact that I could have gave this to either Pedro Galese or even Thomas Hassel of that incredible performance that he had against Sporting KC. But in the end, I decided to go with Andre Blake because, again, Blake throughout this tournament, how many times has he made some incredible save throughout this tournament? And I won't be surprised when they do award the save of the tournament. Andre Blake is going to be on the name of the fact that he made an incredible save that turns out to be the save of the tournament, because there's just been time again that the Union throughout this tournament, if it wasn't for Andre Blake, they probably would not have such a stellar defensive performance throughout this tournament and get to the semifinal of the MLS is Back tournament. Now, for the Chad Marshall defender of the tournament, I am gonna go with Jonathan Mensah. Now, there was definitely a couple of candidates that could be on this list, but I'm going to go with Mensah because he has just been a rock of a defense for the Columbus Crew. And if you want to talk about a standout defender in that Crew team that rarely gave up goal, Jonathan Mensah is clearly the one. And what a comeback year this has been for Jonathan Mensah, where last year there was definitely a lot of question about him and the fact that, you know, he's getting older and he doesn't have the legs to do it, and that he probably would lose his starting spot. Well, heading into this tournament, he has been nothing but stellar, and that he is definitely going to be locked down that starting spot for the Cruise center back line if he, of course, can continue to play like what he did throughout this tournament. And finally, for the Ziggy Schmidt coach of the tournament, this one was also a little bit tough because I know some people will say Giovanni Savarese should win this because of the fact that he was able to guide this Timbers team to able to get to the final and also winning the whole tournament. But I have to go with Oscar Pereira. I mean, how many times have I said throughout this tournament that Pereira has single-handedly turned this Orlando City team to a team that looked like a bottom feeder and looked like an unknown team to just be a team that have shocked everybody in terms of how beautiful they play, in terms of the way that they, of course, go about throughout their games, and the fact that he's able to get this team who has no history of being in the knockout stage and get them all the way into the final and could have won this final have they didn't concede those 2 set-piece goals against the Portland Timbers. I mean, it is just some miracle work that Oscar Pereira has done to this Orlando City team that just transitioned this team in such a short amount of period to be a team become a bottom feeder to now look like a team that could definitely contend to get to the MLS playoffs for the first time in franchise history once this regular season resumes. But that being said, that of course is going to be the awards. And before I, of course, going to finish this video, I will also now switch the boards and kind of reveal my best 11 for this MLS is Back tournament. So here is my MLS is Back tournament best 11. Now, I did make a special rule where I can only include a maximum of 2 players on the same team in the best 11 because I have seen other people and these MLS experts like Susanna Collins, Kalen Carr, and Charlie Davies that have put their MLS's Back tournament best 11, and they seems to choose almost half of the best 11 that include Orlando City and Portland Timbers player. Now, no doubt that those players, of course, would deserve to be in the best 11 because those are the 2 teams that, of course, would eventually make it to the final. However, I feel like just having half of the best 11 or more than half of the best 11 filled with Orlando City and Timbers players sounds kind of a little bit unfair, and that there's clearly other players from other teams in this tournament that clearly deserve to be in the best 11 of this MLS is Back tournament. So hence, that's why I made the special rule where I can only include a maximum of 2 players per team in my best 11. Now, in terms of the best 11 and the formation that I gone with a very unusual 3-4-1-2 formation, and that I want to include as much attacker as possible in this formation. So that's why I only gone with 3 at the back, and I basically gone with like 7 players on this team that are kind of like attacking players. But in terms of the goalkeeper, I'm going to go with the goalkeeper of this tournament, Andre Blake. Then I have my pick of the defender of the year, Mensah, Huan, and McKenzie. Basically are going to be the free center backs in this. Then in the midfield, I got my MVP, Sebastian Blanco, Jan Gregovic, Diego Valeri, who of course was the MVP of the MLS's back final, and Nani in the midfield in that position. In the number 10 row, I'm going to go with Zalarian, and then up front, I'm going to go with Akinola and Rossi as the two number 9 that's going to be operate in this best 11. Now on the substitute bench, I of course put 7 players on the substitute bench here. The backup goalkeeper for this best 11 is going to be Pedro Galese. Then you got Mabiola, Alejandro Pozuelo, Christian Espinoza, Bradley Wright Phillips, Jarzy Zardes, and Jeremy Abobasi. That is going to be on the substitute bench. And then the coach of this best 11 is going to be Oscar Perea. So, yeah, there is my MLS is back tournament best 11. And I know there's going to be a lot of disagreement. And I know some people are going to say there are going to be some players I put in the best 11 that probably should not belong there and should have been on the bench. And that some people will say some of these players on the substitute bench should occupy one of the spot that the best 11 I put here is on here. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of it? I have a feeling a lot of people are going to say that I should have put Ibobasi paired up with Rossi besides Akinola and Rossi in there. But again, because of the special rule where I can only include a maximum of 2 players per team, that's why I decided to go with Akinola, and since I of course already have Blanco and Valeri. Plus, Akinola, he obviously scored more goals than Ibobasi did in this tournament, and he of course grabbed a hat-trick in this tournament, which Ibobasi didn't. And even though both of these guys definitely had some big impact to their team, if I would have gone with kind of like an advantage of which player I should have chose in that best 11, I'm going to give it to Akinola because, as I said, he of course scored a hat-trick and he also scored more goals in this tournament compared to Ibobasi. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this best 11 and also the substitute bench? And let me know in the comments below what's your best 11 in terms of this MLS's back tournament, as well as the awards that of course I gave in my previous board, and who do you think is your pick in terms of winning those awards. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I of course will see you guys next time.